I recently sat with Christine Cunning, the president of W3, the nonprofit Women Working with Women. Joining us in the conversation was Vincent Harte, president and CEO of the Wellspring Multi-Service Center. They collaborated on a food drive to benefit the South Shore services and schools, right here at the Hingham Community Center. By way of which, joining me is none other than the executive director of the Community Center, Mary Ann Blackmer.
Hi, Joe. How are you today?
Great, and how are you?
I'm great. So the Hingham Community Center, like Harbor Media, is a nonprofit. It's really great to be able to provide a venue for these nonprofits so they can actualize their missions, and then we're all working together for a common goal, which is what community is all about.
And you know, here at Harbor Media, we really appreciate the hospitality that you extend to us when we use your venue to interview various candidates that were running for public office earlier this year.
But we really appreciate you coming to use this 300-year-old space, and it's the Ensign John Thaxter House, which is the home of the Hingham Community Center, and it has been a traditional meeting place in Hingham for 300 years. So we're really great that you're able to carry on with that tradition.
That's pretty impressive. Again, thank you so much, and
Thanks
happy
so much,
holidays.
folks.
Welcome Christine Cunning of Women Working with Women, and welcome Vinnie Harte of Wellspring Multi-Service Center.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
We're well. Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for being here. I'd love to know more about W3, Women Working with Women. How old is the organization and how did it come to be?
So we came about 2 years ago. It was just a couple of us, friends really, that have our own businesses, and we're constantly having some conversations about challenges we faced and ideas and strategies we could come up with, and understood that there were several others probably out there in the same kind of boat. So we ended up gathering together and became more formal last year, probably about 10 to 12 of us that have been meeting monthly and across several different business.
Tell us about the businesses that they represent.
So we have a realtor. It's actually a group of 2 women realtors that work as a team. We have a public relations, a lawyer. Myself, I'm in the insurance business, brand management, website design, just a broad range of various services.
And as an organization, when you come together, how often do you meet? What are the topics of discussion that you hold in each of the meetings?
So we meet monthly, and that's why the smaller group has seemed to have been working, because everyone is quite devoted to it and dedicated and really tends to get there as much as possible. It's an appointment on our calendar. Another adjunct was sort of looking to support the community that has given back, and supports us. So that's where the idea of having an outreach and a little community service project came to be.
Which explains why Vinnie's here representing Wellspring, and as you can see in the background here, we have bags full of food and what appears to be some other items. So how did this come to be? What happened that brought forth this?
So the quick intro is we had last year just the smaller group of us as Thanksgiving approached and the holidays, and maybe, let's try to do something. And we all just together brought some things, put them together, and we realized that it was a great need and very well received. So as this next year approached, we formalized it a little bit more and made a bit more of an initiative to put together something a little bit bigger. So primarily we're a networking group trying to build and grow and really support each other with all the facets of just operations and challenges you face with time management and any number of issues that come about. But last year, as an adjunct, we all were trying to think of something we could do to help the community that's been supportive of us. So last year, we all just brought some things to one of our meetings and ended up creating about 12 meals, actually more like 20 meals last year. And this year, we decided to build on that and invite in all of our networks and resources and contacts, and created what looks to be a pretty successful, much larger event. What we were most impressed by and pleased to see was how much our networks came out to support us, and to see that was really impressive. What people don't realize is that even in these communities that we live in that, on the surface appear and in general primarily are quite well off, there's an underlying diverse need for assistance. It's a quiet kind of a need sometimes, and that's what we were hoping to address, and we realized in our minds we hadn't understood how important that is. There's sometimes a small thing you can do that can actually have a really large impact when you put a number of people together doing that. And it's important to do. It doesn't take a whole lot, but it means a great deal to others. I actually am friendly and have worked with Mary Cease, who helps at Wellspring, and I just reached out to her, and she was thrilled, put me in touch with Vincent and Pat Martin, who runs the food bank, and from there, I'll let Vinny explain a little bit more about what they do.
Wellspring we're in our 34th year now. We're located in Hull, but we serve the entire South Shore. It was founded by a Reverend, the Reverend Diane Edson, basically to give people a place to have someone to talk to and give them a warm coat if they need it. And it's grown since then. We're now a larger multi-service center, again, serving the whole South Shore. And one of the programs we run is, we call it Aunt Dot's Kitchen. It's our food pantry. A few years ago, we changed it to Aunt Dot's Kitchen. We want to get away from the stigma attached to some food pantry, some of the food pantries. And we allow people, or we want people to come in, shop for food. We don't dictate what they take. They come in and take what they want. We're open more often now. So we rely very, very heavily on the kindness of others. So when W3 did this last year, as Christine said, there was a big need and it was well received. The need is bigger now, and we appreciate it as much or more than ever before. So organizations like W3 and drives like this keep Aunt Dot's Kitchen running. They keep other pantries in other towns running. If the community doesn't pull together to help residents in need in their own community, it's a big problem and things won't get better. This helps things get better in one day.
I've seen Wellspring do some really great things, and my local Rotary Club, for example, we go to Wellspring to have our printing done. And on one particular visit, I noticed that you have a computer lab in the center. What does that lab do, and perhaps might that serve potentially as a resource through your W3 network, as an example?
The lab you're talking about is also, it's in our adult education program. We have an adult ed program that provides people with training to receive their their GED equivalency, but we also have an agreement with the Hull Public Schools that students can actually earn a high school diploma at Wellspring. It's a kind of a cornerstone program for us. Everything we do is about independence and self-sufficiency. Our belief is if you don't finish your high school education, your level of independence is limited for the rest of your life. And we used to be very proud to be able to get people their GEDs or diplomas, and we're realizing now, Mary Cease is very involved too, that getting your diploma and getting your GED, that should be the baseline. That's the assumed level you're going to get to. Our job is to get you that as the first step. What's next? We've got to get you into the work world, and if that's where you're going, we've got to get you the job trainings, we've got to get you some experience to be able to get you there. Or if you're going to college, and if you're going to college, we have to help with that whole process to make sure you know what your direction is. We want to put you on the path and then walk with you a bit down that path. So that computer lab is in the classroom. Almost all of our classes assume some kind of technology. Much of it is online. We're a testing site for GEDs now, so people can come in and take the test there. And all of the GED testing is done online as well. So we use the computers in that lab mostly for our adult education program. We've done computer ed classes for the community, beginner computer and Excel and Word. To be honest with you, we're trying to work that out now because in 2018, not many people use computers. They've got their phones, they've got their tablets. So we're trying to figure out how to integrate our technology with new modern technology. And what we do at Wellspring is try to find out what the next problem's going to be and solve it before it becomes a bigger problem.
And staying along that theme of independence and self-sufficiency, back to W3, part of your mission is to mentor and support each other as you grow your businesses and grow your network. Is that?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's really a need. I think, women's businesses do face greater challenges. Research shows that it's harder to get funding. I mean, there's payroll differences, and so we still look at some of those things. So it's a way to build that and support each other and find how other people have faced these things. Interestingly, in doing this project, we all learned quite a bit about the greater needs in the community, but also the resources that are available. And Wellspring, I'm sure, knowing now more about what you do there, and highlighting that need for funding and energy and effort from members of the community, and that's something that's important to us. Secondly, just the fact that you hear a food drive and sometimes you don't realize that little bit can really add up and make a difference. So we worked pretty hard to get the word out to our networks and just say anything you can do, and it's a fairly small thing, but hopefully when you all do a little bit together, there's an impact there.
Well, we receive a lot of donations from a lot of different people, and sometimes they're just donations that show up and we're happy to have them. But the things that make a big impact to us are groups like W3 that they didn't just do a food drive. They're involved with Wellspring now. They know more about us now. They know more about our clientele, so it becomes more organic. Christine and many other people in Hingham and surrounding towns, their kids are involved now. They'll call and their kids are involved at the food drive level. And kids are asking, what do you need? In different schools, we'll do field trips for different schools. And it's so heartening to see young moms and dads with younger children teaching them at a young age that this is a community. You can't live on one side of the street and just play with your friends. There are other people, not just in this world, there are other people on your own street that might need help.
I'm very impressed with W3, given its relative youth, 2-3 years as an organization, and you've been able to bring this group together and to marshal the resources. What are your goals, your vision going forward?
Right. Well, frankly, it's a very impressive group. I'm amazed as we do various things. Some of the other more internal projects we've been working on at the resources and talent, right in this area, and so that's helped quite a bit. I mean, the professionalism and the capabilities have really been impressive. Marianne Keeney, that does public relations, has setting this up even, having contacts and realizing, what's important out there and how you get these messages out, from there on down. Danielle Van Est is a lawyer here in town and helped put together bylaws and really made it something with some meat, and everybody has, responsibilities and is vested in it. So just to see that and what can happen in a fairly brief amount of time when you have the, sort of devotion to it was a learning experience too.
I think another part of what impresses me is that your organization and many other organizations that are relatively new, specific to supporting women, has gone against the old stereotype. And what I'm referring to is there was this impression, in some cases it still exists, women don't necessarily support each other. That in some cases, particularly in the political arena, they'll tear each other down and they'll... Did you encounter any challenges in persuading all of them to come together and overcome their fears and reluctance?
No, and I think I haven't really experienced that, and I think that's where we got into the fact that I don't know that that's so much a gender issue as much as maybe personality types. And I think you'll find that, in both sexes, that there's some that are sort of, maybe just have this way that's a little more focused on advancing their cause, and some that will be open to working in a group like this and understanding that the payoff is great. It multiplies for everybody involved.
Tell me a little bit more about the mentoring. Do you mentor each other? Are you reaching out to a larger network of other professionals, women who are mentoring you, the individual members of W3?
I think at this point it's almost a group mentor. It's almost these little sessions. We keep to 1 hour. We've been doing it at lunchtime, 12 to 1, and sort of keep that appointment on a little bit more in that group setting at this point. Although, with various projects you may need or something you're working on, I think that goes along on offline, offside, between individuals. But I could see that is an area. I know, that's one of the biggest ways to get success for women businesses and women-run businesses and help them be successful is finding a mentor. So that could be something we'll look at a little bit more carefully. Maybe putting together some kind of a formal way to do that. Bring in younger members, for example, and go from there.
If students are in our adult ed program, we put them into our job skills program, whether they want to or not. And we find out, do you know what it means to be on time for a job? Do you know what it means to dress appropriately? And it might not surprise people, or it might, to find out a lot of them know. They don't know. Be here tomorrow at 9, they show up at 9:30 in a ripped t-shirt. Well, we have you in our program now, no harm done. We can train you, we can mentor you at this point. We have opportunities in Wellspring, in the print shop, or in the furniture store, in the thrift shop, in the food pantry, that we can put young people to work and guide them with those job skills. And once we're convinced that they've learned enough, we reach out to people and businesses in the community and place them in internships, hopefully within some kind of field that they're interested in. We put them into an internship for a while, and what we ask the employers is your only responsibility is interview them for a job when you're done. You don't have to hire them. You might not even have a job available, but it's a beginning, middle, and end to the internship. And I think there's a great possibility or potential opportunity with W3 that some of our students, especially some of the female students, they're younger. Some of them are 17, 18. We have them right now as high as 24. That might not have had any kind of mentorship ever in their life, male or female. They might never have worked. And for us to say, you got to dress this way and you have to be on time, they might say, yeah, of course, but it doesn't really mean anything. If you get people from W3 that can stand in front of them and say, this is what's possible. This is what I did, and this is how I made it happen. There's some real life experience and real life conversation that could literally change students' lives.
Right.
Yeah, there's real credibility and authenticity when you have a women business owner stand in front of a classroom of female students and talk about, here's how you dress appropriately for work. It's not about dressing like you're going to the nightclub. And we hear a lot of complaints about that with our young people entering the workforce today. They're showing up in offices, and it's like, well, are you coming to work or are you going to the club after work? What's going on? Yeah, just stopping by.
Somewhere to go.
Yeah, yeah. No, and understanding that, and that there's a lot of thought that goes into it for for everybody.
Yes.
But without, I think if you don't have that sort of understanding, then
you have
it's hard to,
nothing to base it on. They don't know. They've never been in the workforce, or from parents or whoever raised them. It was never even discussed, let alone stressed.
And staying along that same thought, where we've seen successfully ball gowns donated for proms for young ladies who may not be able to afford a prom dress. Similarly, we're seeing a movement where professional attire is being donated for young women entering the workforce.
Yeah, and at Wellspring, I'll interrupt, our thrift shop was our original program to get people clothing they need. If someone comes to us and they need clothing, they can have it. Household goods, they can have it. But it's there also to resell. Everything we have is donated, and especially around prom time, we get plenty of gowns that come in. All year long, people will make donations, and they will say, these are my husband's suits that he grew out of or whatever, but they're brand new. We want this used for career exploration pieces. So we're always talking with our students in class that, and we've provided clothing with them if we set up an interview for a job or for college. A lot of times the clothing they're wearing to those interviews come from us. So we do segment some of our donations to make sure we can answer that need. It's a huge need. Proms and interviews, yes, but you just mentioned there are some people who go to jobs and they're dressed for the nightclub. That might be the clothes they own.
Right.
So
and that's actually, even as you say this, we spoke a little bit that W3 isn't necessarily a service organization, but there are certain things that could be easy to segue into.
Yeah.
Well, I could see a women's business clothing kind of a drive, that might help, or what the specific needs are, and respond with some.
Or a woman's clothing drive that you're aware of, but W3's main role is we're going to show you what to do with the clothing.
Right, sort of a little dress for success sort of model
we did that. We did that once, dress for success, and we mentioned it 2 days later. Just 2 days later, I got a call from people who dress for success.
Right, which is a great model. Yeah, it is a great model. But again, in Boston, but there's a need here, and maybe to build off. I'm not sure if you do that there at the thrift shop, but have a sort of styling workshop or something to that effect. I just could see that could be something fun.
What would you like our viewers to know about W3 that we haven't touched on?
So we do have a website now, w3southshore.org. Another thing that came to me in seeing all that's available here in the community and what's done, by Wellspring, South Shore Support Services is another group. We've done some Hingham Community Center here, allowing us to come here and have this and be supportive of the community and all of us. I think an important thing is supporting your local businesses too with your consumer dollars, and realizing that there are trade-offs, and where you spend your money, you want to see where that may come back to your community too. That's not to say that big business doesn't, or local business always does, but it's keeping that in mind. There's a balance of ease and lowest price versus what you're getting back from the bigger picture, and not sacrificing the product you're getting or the service you're getting, or frankly the grassroots commitment to local communities. These are the people that are giving to your high school hockey boosters drive, and they're the people that are on the village beautification committee, and they're working in town hall on committees, and those are important things. And if businesses aren't successful and talented individuals aren't successful in your community, those things aren't going to be able to be done.
So Staying along that point that you just shared in terms of buy locally, support locally, buy and support women-owned business locally. As a consumer, if I were shopping for insurance, if I were shopping for web design services or something of that nature, could I go to this website and find a member and make direct contact? Is that how that works?
It is. So all of our bios are there,
Okay.
and links or direction to our individual businesses and websites.
Are you thinking of developing a directory that you can share with the larger community? Just
We
as a
would,
thought.
right? We absolutely. And that's where we get into people with the marketing experience and branding that. I think that is effective, and I think people, we often have people moving to the community, or our realtors will have people moving here, and, we don't look at it only to, primarily, I think most of us too, you're in business or doing things to, fulfill needs for people and hopefully satisfy those, and I think that can be helpful, Here's someone I trust, this is, someone that I used for my own need, and we can recommend it, and it helps to ease your clients' lives too. So
Where do you see the organization going? What are your short-term, long-term goals at this point?
So I would see next year us looking at the membership and hoping to grow that in a thoughtful way.
And if one were so interested, how do you go about that?
On our website, there is a form you can fill out to show interest, and then the group does meet, as I said, monthly, and has a voting process on, again, as I said, not having conflicting industries, and also being sure that someone has the time and energy to be committed to it.
And you talked about mentoring.
I could see, right, as we've talked here even, and trying to build that and going back to the group and getting their feedback on ways to do that, even internally building that with new members and perhaps with some partnerships, with younger people in the community that have a need. And so those are a couple of things we'd like to look to be
And
doing.
we've talked about the collaborations, and this being one collaboration, but we've touched on so many other different points in which the two organizations can collaborate, as well as collaborate in a larger context throughout the community. You're doing some great work.
Thank you. Well, it's been fun. I mean, I've learned so much. You always find that when you start something a little bit new. So that's been enlightening, and it's been comforting to see how many people, when you put it out there, respond.
I would think if, as a new organization, and perhaps so many people coming at you with requests, that one has to sort of narrow the focus in a way that you're able to fulfill those expectations.
Right. And we do, as I said, it's a very collaborative group, so which I find refreshing, and so we will get together and as a group come up with those different themes.
This is awesome.
Yeah, people will do food drives. The Rotary does a food drive a couple of times a year for Wellspring, and I've stopped by just to say thank you. And these people are out in front of a supermarket in the cold and the rain, and they're wearing just awful, ugly vests. No one is miserable. Everyone's smiling. You're out there trying to collect food for people in the community who might need it, and you're willing to stand in the rain. You're willing to wear something that's not very attractive. But everybody's smiling. Everybody's having a good time. I don't remember the last time I saw somebody doing something for someone else and not get enjoyment out of it.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for coming together and sharing W3, the great work that you're doing, and of course Wellspring and the fine work that you're continuing to do. And I'm really excited to hear about the collaborations that have already taken place and will continue in the future.
We're looking forward to it too.
Great
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.